Aita, drama, secrets, confessions. Welcome to Tale Trove Reddit.
It seemed like just another ordinary day as I took my child out for a walk to get some fresh air. But I had no idea that only a few minutes later, my entire life would take a different turn. Two men stepped out of the shadows, staring straight at my baby's stroller as if they had already chosen their target. At that moment, my heart pounded in my chest, and only one question echoed in my mind: what did they want from my child? I never imagined I would have to face a situation that felt straight out of an action movie, something I thought I'd never encounter in real life. But the truth is, I did something that even I never thought I was capable of. If you want to know what happened next, make sure to subscribe right now so you don't miss the rest of the story. I am a single father. Sounds simple, but do you know how much I had to give up to survive each day? Every morning I wake up before dawn, prepare meals, get my son ready for school, and then go to work like a machine. People often assume men are strong, but how many understand that behind that forced smile are long sleepless nights? There are times I hold my child and cry, asking myself, am I strong enough to carry this whole world? I used to have a full, happy family. But then everything collapsed in a single night, when the person I trusted most left us without an explanation. Have you ever been betrayed to the point you just want to disappear from the world? That was me in those years. Since then, my son became the only reason I kept going. The boy is the light in my dark life, the motivation that gets me up after everything. But at the same time, he turned me into a wolf, guarding against anyone who comes near. Can you believe it? I once chased away relatives just because they dared to say something disrespectful about my son. I no longer have patience, I am no longer weak. I became a different version of myself, someone you would not want to confront in any situation. But life is not as peaceful as we think. I thought I could live quietly, just focus on raising my child. Yet what happened that day proved I would never be allowed to choose the easy path. Can you imagine what an ordinary father like me might do when pushed up against a wall? That day I only planned to take my child for a walk around the market near our home. At first everything was normal, vendors calling out, the smell of food rising from the street stalls, children laughing. But for some reason, I had the feeling someone was staring right at us. Have you ever felt a cold stare, like a blade pressed against your back? I turned around, and at that moment, I saw two men. They weren't buying or chatting, just standing still, their eyes glued to my child's stroller. Their faces were pale, a half-smile curling on their lips that sent a chill down my spine. If it were you, would you dare believe two strangers were eyeing your child like an item to be picked? I tried to walk faster, thinking maybe it was just my imagination. But when I glanced back, they were still following my every step, keeping just enough distance so I couldn't shout, "Robbery." By then I was breaking out in sweat. A string of worst-case scenarios flashed through my mind: kidnapping, mugging, or something even worse. Can you guess what those two men following a single father carrying his child really wanted? When I turned onto a less crowded street, I hoped they'd go away. But no, the footsteps behind me grew faster, pounding in time with my heart. My son was still happily smiling, while I trembled, ready to jump into a fight I had never trained for. And then, one of the two spoke, his voice hoarse like someone crawling out of hell: "Let us watch your kid for a bit." What do you think I did in that moment? Run, call for help, or stand and confront them? Ask yourself, if it were you, which choice would you make to protect the person you love most? That line hit me like a knife to the head. Let us watch your kid for a bit. It sounded like a joke, but there was nothing playful in their eyes. I gripped the stroller bar so hard I could feel each finger trembling from the tension. Have you ever faced people who look at your child as if they were a thing to be traded? One guy stepped forward, deliberately blocking the path. The other circled to the back, as if trying to surround us. I could smell cheap cigarette smoke from his coat. My breath came fast, but I kept my voice steady: "Move." Do you think anyone actually backs down from a single word like that? They laughed, a rough, drawn-out chuckle that chilled me to the bone. "Don't worry, we just want to help." That crooked smile made me realize this wasn't teasing, it was an open threat. I started running scenarios in my head: which way to run, would anyone hear me scream, or should I prepare to fight right there? Would you run to save your life or stand and defend your blood? A gust of wind blew by, carrying a gloomy feeling, as if warning of something terrible about to happen. My son pointed happily at a food stall, giggling, unaware that behind him were two sets of predator eyes. I stood in front of the stroller, half my body a living shield. The only thought in my head was, one wrong step and my child could be gone forever. And right then, one of the men reached toward the stroller, slowly, centimeter by centimeter, as if testing my patience. Can you guess whether I would let it happen or do something those two never expected? I knew it. If I hesitated even one more second, my child would be in their hands. A surge of instinct exploded inside me, stronger than any fear. I didn't step back, I didn't run, but did something no one there probably expected. I turned, looked the man in the eye, and took a step forward. Can you imagine it, a skinny single dad daring to move toward two predators? I heard my own voice ring out, not trembling but hard, "Touch my kid, and I swear you'll regret it for the rest of your life." Even I was shocked by those words. But in that moment I saw the two men flinch, as if they hadn't expected their easy prey to bite back. Do you think they'd walk away, or get twice as furious at being challenged face to face? One of them let out a rough laugh, the grin stretching ear to ear. "This guy's got guts, but will gut save your kid?" My heart pounded like a war drum, but my feet didn't move. I put one hand on the stroller and clenched my other fist so hard it bled. They didn't know I'd prepared for the worst, ready to risk everything right there. My son began to scream, his cries echoing down the empty street. Passers-by looked away, no one dared to step in. And I realized, from now on it was just me against two wild animals. What do you think a regular dad can do with no way out? The answer comes in the next few seconds, where everything flips completely. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow the next part of the story, because what happens next will make you not believe your eyes. That moment exploded in my head. One guy suddenly lunged forward, his hand grabbing straight at my child's stroller. In an instant, I shoved the stroller to the side so my child would roll toward the safest wall possible. Then I spun around and threw the first punch of my life with every ounce of strength from someone with no way out. Have you ever seen an ordinary dad turn into a monster just to protect his child? The punch made the guy stagger, and the other roared like a mad animal. He charged, arms swinging like he wanted to tear me apart. I didn't have time to think, only to react by instinct, block, shove, even bite when I was backed into a corner. Yes, I bit him, like a rabid wolf protecting its litter. Can you believe it? In that moment I wasn't human anymore, I was someone willing to die to secure my child's safety. A metallic crash rang out as a nearby chair was knocked over. Passers-by started screaming, some ran, some stayed to film like they were watching a live-action movie. Me, with blood trickling from my lip, my eyes had only one goal: don't let anyone touch my child. One of them grabbed my shirt and yanked me backward. I felt my neck about to break. In that suffocating second, I thought I was going to collapse. But then, from deep inside, an invisible force rose up. I threw myself back, head-butted him, and the two of us fell to the dusty ground. Can you guess what happened next? Because just seconds later, everything turned in a direction I never could have imagined. I thought I was about to collapse right there on that street. The two men pressed me against the corner, fists raining down, each blow feeling like it wanted to crush my body. Blood ran into my mouth, my vision blurred, but I still looked toward the stroller. My son was screaming, his tiny hands flailing like he was begging for help. What could be more painful than watching your child desperate and not being able to rush to hold him? And then, something no one expected happened. A shout rang out from behind, "Let go!" In the chaotic instant, a man lunged in like a storm. With a single spin, he threw off the guy who had me pinned. Can you imagine it? Just when I thought I was about to die, Savior showed up from nowhere? He was around 40, muscles hard as rock, eyes sharp. His movements were so decisive I couldn't help but think, this man used to be a soldier. The other guy tried to charge, but he was caught, flipped to the ground in a move I'd only seen in action movies. I froze, my heart still racing, unable to believe what was unfolding before my eyes. Have you ever seen someone go from hopeless to rescued in the blink of an eye? The man turned to me and said simply, "Hold your kid. I'll handle the rest." His voice was calm, but carried a force that made my skin crawl. I immediately ran to hug my child while behind me the real fight was just beginning. Do you think those two would surrender easily, or would they fight to the death? Try to guess, because what happened next made the whole neighborhood hold its breath. The whole street seemed to explode in that moment. The stranger faced the two men head-on, while I held my child tight, my heart pounding like it would burst out of my chest. On one side was the instinct to protect, on the other the fury of someone who had lived in darkness. Which side do you think would win when the price is a human life? The first guy snarled and lunged like a mad animal. But in an instant, the man spun, using the attacker's own momentum to slam him onto the pavement. A thunderous sound echoed, dust billowed everywhere, and I swear I saw the attacker's eyes roll white in shock. Have you ever witnessed a strike so decisive it drained the attacker of all will right then and there? The other man pulled a small knife from his jacket, the steel flashing under the streetlight. My heart dropped for a moment, and I only managed to shout, "Watch out for the knife." But the stranger didn't flinch. He sidestepped, grabbed the man's wrist, and bent it back until the knife clattered to the street. The metallic clang rang out like a death bell for the reckless fool. Do you think an ordinary person could do that, or only someone hardened by battle could stay that calm? People began to gather, some filming, some covering their mouths in shock. As for me, my legs trembled, but my eyes never left the scene unfolding before me. I knew that if he lost, if I collapsed, my child would have no chance. And then, with one final move, he pinned both of them down, holding them like chained beasts. My son's crying gradually quieted, replaced by an innocent look staring up at me as if to ask, "Dad, are we safe now?" Do you believe that in just a few short minutes, a single father and a stranger could turn an entire street into a real battlefield? The whole street fell silent after the two men were slammed to the ground. Their heavy breathing mixed with the lingering cries of my child, creating a scene so chaotic it was chilling. I still held my child tight, my hands soaked in sweat and blood. Have you ever felt the moment when your whole body trembles, both from fear and from realizing you just escaped death by a hair's breadth? The stranger kept both men pinned down, giving them no chance to fight back. Only minutes later, the sound of police sirens echoed, painting the dark street in flashing red. The crowd that had only been watching now pressed closer, whispering, filming, some even live streaming as if this was nothing more than a show for entertainment. What do you think when you see someone else's life turned into content for strangers to gossip about on their phones? The police rushed in, tying up the attackers. One officer looked at me, then at the man who had just saved my child and me. The man gave a slight nod, saying nothing, as if everything that had just happened was nothing out of the ordinary. But I knew well, if not for him, by now I would be holding my child's photo instead of holding him in my arms. Do you believe a stranger can appear at the right moment and completely change your fate? As the police took the two men away, I still hadn't recovered from the shock. My son pressed his head into my chest, innocently asking, "Dad, will those men come back?" My heart clenched, but I smiled, stroking his hair. "No, son. Never again." The truth is, I wasn't sure myself. But I swore I would never let anyone get a second chance to try. What do you think, after all of this, what lesson did I learn from that terrifying night? Subscribe now, because the answer lies in what I'm about to share next, things no one could have ever expected. That night, when everything had finally settled down, I sat alone in the dark room while my son slept peacefully on the bed. His steady breathing echoed like a saving melody, reminding me that just a single moment of hesitation could have cost me everything. Have you ever thought about how your whole life could change completely in just a few short minutes? I am not a hero. I'm just a single father, worn down by the struggles of everyday life. But that night, I realized a terrifying truth: when it comes to protecting my child, I am willing to do things even I never thought possible. Do you believe an ordinary person can push beyond their limits for one reason alone: love? From that day on, my eyes were never the same. The fear remained, the memories haunted me, but alongside them grew a new strength, the strength of someone who would rather die than lose the one they love most. And perhaps, that is the deepest echo of this story. How many people out there do you think would have the courage to do the same? Share your thoughts, because I believe this story is not mine alone, it is a wake-up call for all of us.